Welcome to Top 5 Vinyl, where we show love to vinyl owners. Today I'm here with Khalil. How's it going, man?
Everything's going well, brother. How's everything on your end?
Not too bad, not too bad. Now, before we start, I have to tell you, you were actually referred to me
Okay.
because because we went to college together,
hmm
and I hit up a couple people that I knew from college who were involved in music and the radio station like we were,
hmm
and I think two people says, "Hey, can you why don't you reach out to Khalil because I know he has a lot of vinyl." And I was like, "Well, I already did, but thank you, thank you." So yeah, you were actually referred.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel honored.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Do you remember the first vinyl that you ever bought?
That I ever bought. Yes. So my first vinyl I owned was like Kitty records that my mom,
Mm,
and grandmother got me. But in terms of like, something I went out and bought on my own, and that vinyl, because I bought cassettes before I bought my first vinyl. My first vinyl, eh, it might be Hall and Oates,
mm,
Abandoned Luncheonette.
okay.
It's one of their early albums.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that's the first one. I found it, I think, like in a thrift store when I
Okay.
was maybe 12 or 13.
Huh. Wow, that's crazy. Okay.
Yep. So that
That
was
was
my
gonna be one
first.
of my other questions. Did you have like a favorite place to buy music, or was it
A
just like,
couple places. I'm in Northwest DC now. So let me see. When I was getting into really purchasing vinyl on my own when I was in high school, I would go to Vinyl Inc., which is a store that's no longer open. That was in downtown Silver Spring.
okay.
Also in downtown Silver Spring, Roadhouse Oldies, which is also defunct.
Hmm.
So when I was on my lunch break in high school, they were both walking distance from me. So
Hmm.
I'd walk there and use the money I was supposed to spend on lunch on
Correct.
vinyl. So I never bought a school lunch the whole 4 years I was in high school. I always spent it on vinyl or comic books.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. So okay, so being that being said, how many vinyls do you think you've ever bought like at one time? We talking like over five, over 10? Like what's the
Most I've
maximum
ever
of one
bought at one
purchase?
time, there was a store, Record Exchange in Silver Spring that I used to work at, and that store is now also closed.
Hmm.
They used to have little deals and bargain bin albums. The most I ever bought at one time, maybe 15.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but those weren't
Wow.
like all full, price joints.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you still have like everything, or did you miss something over time? Like did things happen to disappear over time, or you still have everything that you ever bought?
I no, I don't. I generous with my collection. If I have a double, I give it away. Or sometimes if I just have one album, if I know like a friend is into it, I gift albums a lot.
Okay.
So no, I do not have everything. I've given a lot away.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So I want you to show me the number five album that you have in front of you right now.
Okay. Let me dig into my greatest 2001 Slum Village,
Hmm.
Fantastic Volume 2,
Huh.
Dilla,
Mm-hmm.
um, Detroit producer. He first cut his teeth, I believe, on the Far Side. He did Running Away and Drop off of the
Hmm.
sophomore album. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that was the nation's introduction to Dilla. But this was his own group from the D from Detroit. And this album really spoke to me because the production, I love jazzy hip hop because Tribe
Mm-hmm.
Called Quest is my favorite rap group of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And so Dilla, he was right in that vibe, like really smooth, laid out, almost neo soul type beats, except people were rapping over them.
Mm-hmm.
It was organic, it was warm. But he did stuff for Common and Erica Badu as well. But it was just something about the production here that just blew me away. The way the bass rolled, how deep the bass was, the crispness of the snares. And I fell in love with it. I used to go in my mom's basement and put the red light bulbs in and burn incense and just zone out. Yeah,
Okay.
this album, 2001, Slum Village. If you haven't heard it and you call yourself a hip hop head,
Hmm.
get it.
And is there any artwork in the back of that?
Just us song titles.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
right.
and that is Dilla. May he rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
That is Batin. May he rest in peace. And yes, so good.
Nice. Right now, let's take a look at your number four. What do we have for number four?
Number four is dun, 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 Mickey Mouse Disco.
Oh wow, I have seen this before. Okay.
This is the first album I ever owned. I got it, I believe, Christmas 1979.
Hmm.
And my mother bought me a copy, and my grandmother bought me the copy. So I
Wow.
could have a copy at each of their homes.
Right, right.
And so the back cover has a Clementine and Daffy and Daisy, and yeah. So the during the disco craze, like there was a Sesame Street Christmas album, like everybody's putting out a disco album. So up until probably the age of 7, this was my favorite album of all time.
Mm,
So
mm.
I used to listen to it every day. You know how kids never get tired of anything; they just
Right,
wear
right.
things out.
Hmm.
So this was my wear out kid album.
That's
Like I'm pretty
awesome.
sure I tormented my mom and grandmother with this because I played it all the time.
Now, is there a favorite song on there, or just the whole thing just goes?
Yes, a song called "The Greatest Band,"
Okay.
and at one point it was my favorite song of all time. And yeah, I listened to this almost every day.
Hmm.
Not anymore,
Wow.
but up until 85 maybe.
Right, right. Huh, that's
And I
awesome.
have 3 copies.
You have three copies?
Three, three, three,
Oh
three.
wow.
Too much, yeah, no.
Okay. You have three of number four. Let's take a look at your number three album.
My number three is, let's go with Parliament's Funkadelic versus Placebo Syndrome from 1977.
Hmm. Hmm.
George, even
Hmm.
though Parliament was a large conglomerate and band, George was the only one who appeared on the album covers for whatever reason. But anyway, funk is my favorite genre of music.
Hmm.
And when I was in 10th grade, I heard this album over a friend's house, and I was just blown away. It was because I was introduced to Parliament's music by the samples I heard in my favorite hip hop songs, so like Dr. Dre,
Hmm.
Easy E, Cube, NWA.
Hmm.
So when I listened to the album, almost every song I recognized the sample. Like, oh man, that's where NWA got it from. That's where Cube got it from. So that made it easy for me to jump into it because I was familiar with the grooves already.
Hmm.
And this album is just incredible. It stinks. You need to like burn incense and put a basket of potpourri in the room with you because
Yeah.
it's disgustingly nasty in the best possible way.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's always amazing to hear like when you hear like a song that's been sampled,
Mm-hmm.
and then like months, years, decade later, you're hearing the original. You're like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
that is like the creativity to take that and make what we've heard is just like that's special.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. All right, so that's your number three.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and take a look at your number two.
Dun, 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 dun,
Ha.
dun.
Okay.
So this isn't actually the soundtrack or score rather to the movie. Michael Jackson in I think it was like November 1982, and this is the same month that Thriller came out,
Mm,
put out this ET storybook.
mm,
Nothing on the back, but
mm,
there was the ET storybook. So it's basically a read along where it has dialogue from the film,
mm,
and in between the dialogue from the film, Michael Jackson is narrating the
mm,
action. And I love it because it's the purest distillation of what makes Michael him.
mm,
Like you could tell, like when people narrate stuff, they're voice actors,
mhm,
they're trained, they're doing their
mhm,
job. Michael wasn't trained in this, but his natural enthusiasm for the
mhm,
subject matter
mhm,
made it one of the best narrated albums I've ever heard.
mm,
And it actually won a Grammy in 1984 for
mm,
Best Children's Album.
mm.
So interesting story about this. This was snatched off the market almost immediately
Why?
because Michael's label, CBS/Epic, filed an injunction against MCA. I think it was MCA. Yeah, MCA, because they thought it was going to compete with albums with sales of Thriller, which is ridiculous because this is a children's album.
Right.
It's not even the same market or audience. But anyway, Michael's label won, and after maybe a couple months, that album had to be taken off the market. So now it's a huge collector's item.
Oh, wow. I never knew that.
Hmm.
That's amazing. Okay. And your number one. Let's take a look at that.
This is my favorite, absolute favorite album of all time. Of course, you can't tell who it is because there's nothing on the front cover
No.
and nothing on the back cover. And I love albums like this because, well, Sly and Family Stone, There's a Ride Going On,
Mm,
released in November of 1971.
mm,
So the reason why this is my favorite album of all time, funny thing is I was 12 the first time I heard it, and I did not like it at all the first
mm.
time I heard it because I was used to Sly's 60s stuff like Everyday People, buoyant and, upbeat. And this album is none of what people came to expect from Sly. It's slow. It sounds like, how if you have a tape and you record over the same tape over and over, the quality of the audio is like
Grades.
muddy.
Right.
So Sly, he kept on recording over and over on the same tape. So he was like, the album was basically recorded in like a drug-induced haze. So it sounds muddy. The vocals are like kind of fractured, and he doesn't really sing clear in a clear tone. So some of the times you have to really struggle to understand what he's saying.
Mm,
So those qualities would make this a detriment to the average ear.
mm,
But to somebody like me, it made me perk up. And I was like, wow, this is, genius.
mm.
Um, the album made the band implode because what Sly did was he would re-record his band. He would record over his band members' parts. So he'd record his own bass over
Okay.
the bass player's track. He would remove the drummer's track and put like a drum machine on it.
Mm.
So, undermining, I guess, their
Right. Right.
contributions. But I think it's the funkiest album that was ever made. The biggest hit on it is Family Affair.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I can't say enough about this album. There's so much to say about it, but it's just very dark. It shows mentally where he was at the time. And it was him embracing the militancy of the burgeoning, Black Power movement, because at first he was a Black man immersed in hippie cult culture. So it was like, we need to live together and all that. That was his 60s stuff. In this, he faced the bleak reality of, I guess, the failure of the civil rights movement.
Mm,
And
mm.
so he's just living in that bleakness and, his drug addiction and how he was changed by fame. And yeah, it's very personal and dark, and I love it.
So you mentioned earlier, like at first you did not like it. What changed? Like what happened?
I matured because there's a lot of stuff I didn't like when I first heard it because I was young.
Mm,
But as I began to mature and grow in a musical sense, and I was able to reevaluate a lot of stuff, I was like, this is pretty genius level stuff going on here.
mhm.
So this is one of the few albums I could listen to over and over and over and over and over and over and never get tired.
Okay. And my last question for you, of the five, it might be kind of a tricky question, but of the five that you just showed, have you seen any of them live?
I've seen Michael Jackson live with the Jacksons. That
Okay.
was their victory tour, RFK Stadium, DC, 1984.
Mm,
Um, Slum Village, I've never seen. I've seen Elzai, who's like one member of the group. I've never seen Slum Village in person.
okay.
I've never seen Mickey Mouse live. And I guess, yeah, I guess that covers everybody. Yeah, but yeah, Michael is the only one. Oh, I'm sorry, P Funk. I've seen Parliament live at least 3 times.
Oh wow. Okay.
I got to meet George, got him to sign a couple things.
Mm,
But yeah, I've seen those two live. I've seen Michael live and I've seen Parliament live.
okay. That's awesome. Well, I want
And
to
I
thank.
have this is 5.5.
Okay.
This is
What we
this
got?
is considered a half because
Okay.
it's only a single.
Okay.
So before the Jackson Five signed to Motown, they were signed to a local Gary, Indiana label called Steeltown.
Okay.
And this came out in 1968, which was, I think this came out the same year they actually signed with Motown. It came out earlier in the year.
Mm,
So when so Steeltown put this out, and I think it was like a minor hit, like in the Midwest, in the surrounding states. But this is Michael Jackson's very first officially released recording. And
mm,
it's very rare because, I Want You Back was their official, Motown debut. But a lot of people don't know before their Motown debut, their first song was on a small indie label out of Gary, Indiana, called
Hmm.
Steel Town. So this is also one of my favorites.
Wow.
And I know I
Wow.
cheated, but you know.
That's awesome. You caught me off guard that last minute haymaker. That's a good one. That's awesome. Well, I want to thank you for your time, sir. I
Yes, sir.
appreciate it.
Had a great time. Had a great
And,
time.
and we'll talk soon. Thanks so much.
All right, I'll take care.
All right, man.